Carlo here from Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for sure. And it's Freddy's Nightmare, Season 1, Episode 15, School Daze. Written by David Ehrman and directed by Michael Klein. 2 segments as always, with the more traditional Freddy's Nightmares crossover section where a minor character / secondary character from the first segment leads into this second and he becomes the major player of that second segment. Mm-hmm. Well worth noting, immediately from the start, the only reason to watch this episode, I think, is segment 2. Purely because it's more fun. And once again, like previous segments and previous episodes, deals with real-world issues. But does so in a fun, imaginative, and dark way. Particularly its choice of endings, which I found amusing more than anything else. Yeah. Because I never really cared that much about the character in the second segment. Not that I care about this character in the first segment either. That is Steve, Andrew Krause. He is a slightly rebellious, nerdy underachiever at school. Yeah. Springwood High, of course, because everything takes place in Springwood, where he's constantly getting in trouble for being distracted, how he dresses, how he acts, and how he dresses is a look, we'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah.
But basically, his story is that he doesn't want to be in trouble. He doesn't want to get in trouble. So when he's called to the principal office, again, he's kind of not that up to it. He's a bit cheeky with the receptionist. He goes to sit down outside the principal's office waiting. And that's it. That's the entire rest of the episode now. Is basically him having dreams about, I guess, designed to be telling us, oh, if you continue to underachieve at school, this is what might happen to you and all that, right? Except that does it in one of the more surreal, wacky ways. Effectively, he ends up uncovering some mad-ass mystery within the school that suggests that, they're replacing students with robots, experimenting on them and stuff like that, and outside is becoming a bit of a war zone.
It's like a little nod to, some people's opinion on school is like they kind of bring you up to be robotic, and you learn the
it's
same.
about uniformity.
Yeah, you look the same, you learn the same. Yeah.
And the whole thing is that he doesn't adhere to that, so he's a problem. Yeah. And it's basically him trying to escape the clutches and the grasps of the, I don't know what we call it, child catcher style bus, which has teachers on it and stuff like that. He ends up meeting a group of rebellious kids who have also rebelled, who are living in the underground. Yeah. They captured a head teacher and trying to encourage him to shoot him.
That's what I want, though. I want silly ideas.
It is quite insane, but it's not that interesting, which I think this episode, this segment's really, really... I remember when he gets into the sort of basement area and all the kids are lined up and he sees his friend and stuff like that. And I remember just beginning to switch off at that point. And it's like, well, I shouldn't be feeling that way. Yeah. The bit where he's got the gun trained at the teacher and they're encouraging, that goes on for ages as well.
But you've got limited time, guys. Come on.
It just doesn't really hold the attention, even if, as you say, it's very, very surreal. And ultimately, what does it all lead to is him waking up outside the principal's office, freaking out because of the dreams, and then promising and swearing that he's going to do better and all that. Particularly as he was never actually, the principal reveals he didn't call him to the office, and he rushes out and stuff like that, which I didn't get either. What was the point of that? No. Because the dream sequence suggested it starts when he goes to the principal's office. Yeah, well, someone called him there.
Yeah.
I think it would have been smarter to have had him fall asleep in class again or something like that. And that's where the dream sequence starts. So he wakes up at his desk
and then goes
and then freaks out and says, I'm going to do better, I'm going to do this and do that and so on. Would have made much more sense. It's just a bit forgettable overall. Whereas the second segment surrounds Matt, played by Billy Morissette, and is all about the SATs. And about the importance of them and how if you fail them or you don't do well in exams, it can affect your life forever. Brilliant.
It's a really good way of showing that, because as English people, we've got
our own pressures. It's no different to GCSEs.
We do have SATs when you're younger. That's a lot lower level. That's normally more for grammar schools and stuff, isn't it? Certain tests like that. And GCSEs and A levels and stuff like that. A levels probably more because you take less of them, but they're more specific.
Yeah, but I would argue GCSEs no. I'd say no, because GCSEs is pretty much everything. Everyone has to do them. Whereas A-levels, not necessarily everybody has to do them.
Now.
Yeah, A-levels can go on onwards and further education is a choice, whereas GCSEs is part of your end secondary school. Now, I do think we're pretty good in this country and probably in other coaches as well, is not making them out to be the be-all and end-all of everything. Meaning you don't have to do well in your GCSEs to basically do well in life. But there is still a ton of pressure on that. In fact, I would argue there's pressure at the younger age when you're moving from primary school into secondary school. What did they call that? That there used to be... SATs was something that came like halfway through secondary school for me in the 90s. Whereas
it's called something key stage or
under
something?
11, something like that. Anyway, there is, and I feel like that one is often put more pressure on and stuff like that. But other ones, like if you want to try and get to a grammar school and the test those involved and aspects like that. Either way, this episode does a strong job of showing the pressures that children, young adults, teens all go under when it comes to exams, particularly from all aspects. You're not just talking about from the school, but you're talking about from parents as well, because ultimately Matt's dreams all these different scenarios, all these incredibly different scenarios around what his life will be like if he doesn't do well. And it's done in brilliant ways where every single dream has him being tested. The dinner table scene. Where everything, even like, can you pass me this item, results in a question that's mathematical based or chemistry. All these really clever stuff. And it's done in a very surreal, dreamlike way. Very Freddy Krueger, very Freddy's nightmares. So it's really enjoyable to watch. It's also really relatable. I am nearly 40, but I've done this shit. I've been under the same amount of pressure as anyone else, particularly as I come from school in the late 90s as well. And things were certainly a lot more, I think, pressure-based then than perhaps they are now.
Yeah, I think they're tweaking things even more now, so there's less exams. It's more coursework and stuff, because I say that you can't really judge.
You can't.
On someone on 2 hours of their life compared to 2 years.
I was always a champion of coursework and elements like that, but I've done my fair share of sitting in exam halls, silent exam halls, staring at blank pieces of paper and elements like that.
And the worst one where people say you can leave when you've finished.
Yeah.
So they've got distraction and you look going, everyone's left.
Or you're the first. You finish and everybody else is still working away, and that again will get in your head.
It's Mr. Bean, you've not turned the paper over.
Yeah, well, even if you have completed everything, have I gone too fast here? Have I made a mistake? Elements. There's all these things around it and so on.
And that's what you drink,
in my current line of work, I still get regularly yearly tests that are quite intricate, and although I have no problem with them and they're done in a certain way and things like that, every time it comes around, don't tell me I don't feel a bit like, oh God, I've got to do this again. The pressure that comes with that element, aspects and stuff like that. So it's done really well to really nail the whole pressure aspects, but I really like the dream aspects as much as anything. I like how it takes the most silliest of worries a teenager might have. So a lot of it is based around the fact that he will lose his girlfriend, and he does, and ends up stepping in a janitorial job at the very school he attended for his father who's sick at home. He ends up seeing his girlfriend, who returns with some friends to see a new douchebag thing, and he's really embarrassed about it. And when he suggests they meet up and hang out, she's basically nope. He gets angry and throws the broom, breaks a really expensive microscope, which means he doesn't get paid for the day, which then hilariously impacts his parents, who are currently at home with a bank manager, about to have their home repossessed. He comes home, he doesn't have his paycheck, so can't pay the mortgage, resulting in the house, basically, the bank's like, well, we're going to take the house back immediately. And his father, who's currently on life support, dying right there and then. It is so stupid, but it is bloody entertaining for that.
I say it's like the thoughts that with your day into your head and come out like in this dream. But yeah, like it is, like I say, the dad's in the middle of the room. Like, it's not just like
it is exactly as a dream would be. You'd put him in wacky, weird, and impossible situations. Well, even the idea of the bank manager being physically in the house,
coming into your house when your dad's that sick,
and being like, no, I'm here to take the house back. To me, that's not how this works. Yeah. It's ridiculous, but it's dream-like, and that's really, really cool. This is an episode that really could have ended in a positive way, but it chooses not to as well. I generally expected him he'll do the sats, and then at the end of it, I figured he'd just do the whole thing, and we're walking out of school and be like, it is what it is, we'll see how it turns out. But that's not how it goes. He basically wakes up in the exam, having done none of it. Completely blank, freaks out, and he's told, oh, well, you have to resit it at a later date. And we then sort of see him leaving school with his girlfriend and being basically just like, well, it doesn't matter, who knows? And that's it, And it's like, oh, okay, wow. Yeah, big fat zero,
Because that is the worst thing of, like, you literally putting nothing down.
But I do still think there's a positive message, which is basically just reset him in the future.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It doesn't mean anything right now, you know, in that aspect.
Yeah.
But it makes for a fun segment and a way more memorable segment than segment 1 overall.
Yeah.
School Days, I think, though, as a whole, middle. Like, I don't think it's a particularly bad one. I think, like I said, the first segment is wacky enough that it can be attention grabbing if it's not, even if it's not the most memorable. And segment 2 is extremely memorable, but does do that thing that we have to mention and we should complain about regularly, which is it's like, where's the Freddy in this? Where's the Nightmare on Elm Street aspect beyond the dream sequences? Where's the really horror elements? Because there's no horror in this.
Freddy walking through the aisles in the example.
What?
Scraping doing the desk, doing something.
Yeah, even something like that.
The teacher at the front, the auditor, not auditor, the one that watches the exam.
Have her in a jumper. Like just these references. Because another example in the first segment I would have done was the loudspeaker voice that calls him as Freddy.
Yeah.
Who's about England.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's it.
Yeah. Oh, we're grateful. Can we write these, please?
Do these really, really simply ways to always go, he's influencing this series of events in some way or another.
This is Freddy's nightmare.
Yes, exactly that. And it still doesn't do it. What do you reckon, though? Episode 15, School Days. Got any thoughts on it? You know what to do. Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at gbhbl. Just search for gbhbl and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.